Have you ever wished that the Leo from Gundam WIng had a little bit more feminine charm? Well, today is your lucky day, or at least a couple of months ago when this actually came out, because you can now get one. This right here is the high-grade Leo R. This is, well, not necessarily from Gundam WIng, the TV show. This is actually from the side story manga, which is G-Unit. You may or may not have read Gundam WIng G-Unit. I personally haven't, but I know generally the gist of the story from the awesome game, which is SD Gundam G Generation Cross-Rays. That's where I saw this first, and that's why I needed this kit. If you need one too, well, you can get yours exactly where I got mine, and that is through my link in the description. Now let's check this out. So jumping on into the build of the high-grade After Colony Leo R. Now inside this box we do get a whole bunch of runners. Now I did start this already, so I have all the pieces ready inside of here. Now this does share some elements with the actual standard high-grade Leo. The upper legs, the knees, some of the arms, so this is definitely 100% a Leo with a brand new kind of look. Almost like they crossed Leo with Nobel Gundam. As usual with the build, I'm going to be starting off the legs, so we've got something standing there building up over time. The legs on this are quite simple. Mainly you've got a basic knee bend, which is a C-clip based joint, just like we would have seen in the standard Leo. This builds up super simply. We've got some parts for the feet which just attach together just like so. Again, the simplicity continues. The lower leg is just two parts that clip together with a front bit of armor. Two side little ankle armor sections attach on in grey, breaking up the color. Simple hip joint made out of two pieces. Same goes for the upper leg. This is the same as the classic high-grade Leo, two pieces, which contain the joint we just built inside. Knee armor is nicely color separated. We've got that bluish green or greenish blue on gold. Side skirts once again double sandwiched, light blue on gold, and the final assembly of the leg just involves attaching a C-clip knee section to the lower and upper leg that locks in from behind like a 30-minute missions. Then we just attach on the foot via a ball joint, the knee armor, and then the side skirting which attaches onto the actual leg. Overall super simple so far, looks good, and a damn sight different looking than your standard Leo's leg. Moving up to the waist unit now, and this is a little more complex than I would have expected. The only things that really move are the front skirting armors on this, but we do have a nice dropping mechanism for the actual hip joints to attach onto. This is cool, simple, effective, and does what it needs to do while looking good. When it comes to the actual build of this, you start with that hip joint mechanism. It just attaches in like so via a simple peg. Waist joint section attaches in, and then it just sandwiches all together like so. You then attach on some hip armor onto both sides, front thruster, front skirting armors, part to hold those on, and the butt flap in usual Leo style does have some nice grey layering underneath to make it look nice and armored, and that just attaches on from behind like so. The legs pop on simply via pegs like we normally see on gunpla, and we're pretty much halfway there already. Moving up now to the torso. The shoulder joints in this are your kind of classic cup style shoulders, but these are plastic, not polycap. They lock in then with some nice grey section from the front. However, at this point we do need to actually dip into the stickers. This is the sticker sheet, it's pretty big. I used all of them except for those large ones. Those are actually from the back of the forearms. But for right here we just attach this big pink rectangle around this kind of little armored pipe or cage section part. The armor then layers onto this oh so perfectly. We've got two light blue sections that attach up top, allowing some of the grey through, some of the darker blue-green or green-blue sections below. Around back, we've got some upper light color and some lower darker color, again matching from the front. We also have that Leo little section then that attaches on here, which could be compatible with the Leo accessories that are out there. I don't have mine handy, so I won't be able to try that out. There are two waist sections then that attach on. These are polycap balls. They don't actually provide too much articulation, sadly. And then we've got some very cool backpack sections. These just attach a grey section into some armor sections, so they are dual layered, and they just pop into some holes on the back just like so via ball joints, and they look pretty cool. Finally, that right there is what the torso looks like, and like I mentioned, this doesn't actually provide too much in regards to articulation, which is sad considering how many joints there are in the body. The bits around back, these can rotate and move side to side ever so slightly, and just popping it onto the waist unit, we're getting through this kit pretty quickly. Moving now into the arms, this is what a finished one looks like. We've got some giant shoulder armor with gold on them. That can move independently to the actual shoulder itself, up and down like so. We've got full rotation, a simple bend at the elbow, again very 30-minute missions-esque. And when it does come to the build of this, there's 3 sections to the actual shoulders, same as the Leo we would have seen before. The shoulder armor builds up as 4 parts. That's gold onto the light greeny blue, and then we've got the darker color which sandwiches this onto the ball section we just built. Simple forearm, 2 sections as well as a cuff for the wrist. Like the Leos of yore, this is your simple C-clip elbow attachment. Cylindrical upper armor part just slots down from above, and then you lock it all together with the piece attaching into the elbow. Hand on, shoulder on, and then the arm is finished. Simple, attach them both on, and we're what, 90% of the way there? All that's left is the head, which is probably one of the most unique aspects about this kit. First off, this is what the head looks like when it is complete. This is really cool. It's like the absolute perfect fusion of Nobel Gundam and the Tallgeese. It's such a cool idea. It's got hair around back, big pointy section up front, and it has a more complete sort of face to it than your average Leo. First off, when you're building this, I will mention the visor in here is made out of a nice, clear, pink plastic. So this does mean you've got some options in here. I just went with the standard build, which means you have to stick a sticker over it, which is definitely a little bit of a letdown because you could usually, or should I say you could, use this in a much more interesting kind of way with some nice chrome behind the plastic. The muzzle in here is absolutely tiny that attaches on to this piece. We've got the inner part of the head, which actually is like your standard Leo head. You have to grab one of those square sensors off of the sticker sheet. It just attaches on just like so. So internal aspect, just like the Tallgeese, is 100% Leo looking. Also, I will just take a little bit of a side here. I did mention before I would do a Tallgeese 2 review, the real grade, if the other video I did before reached 5,000 likes. And the reason I have not done that yet is because a single Tallgeese 2 right now costs about $170. So it will happen, just not at that price. Next up, we continue on building the head. You've got 2 armor sections which attach onto an internal grey piece. 2 stickers are required here for the venting on the side of the head, but you could get away with some nice panel lines. Front head armor attaches onto this. The beginning of the hair section attaches on just like so. This has some articulation and it is locked into position from above by another little hair section. Finally, then we do have the big old crest which attaches onto the top of the head with a nice little bit of a gap showing the grey frame inside. And I will mention I did also cut off the safety flag here as well, because this little piece, well, technically it's not meant to be around the back, it's just to stop kids putting out their eyes. Finally getting the Leo ore put together, and this head just slaps onto the neck just like so, and this is so unique. This is such a cool design. If I was to spend more time on this, I would definitely probably paint the gold aspects. A nice bit of Tamiya spray gold on those would really make this kit shine. Top coat, the rest of it's for a nice kind of matte finish to go with the metal, but as this is just straight built for the review, it's just gonna have to go and be like this. Lastly, then we do have a weapon in here that is a bit of a beam spear. You've got a handle, 2 parts that then attach onto the top of this, and a beam effect, which is nice and vigorous. Lastly, then we do have a hand for holding onto this, which is at a nice extended angle. You just pop it on like this. I'm just going to do it right now, why not? And this right here is what it looks like. And there we go, there is the high grade Leo ore complete. This is so unique, but so familiar at the same time. This looks more Tallgeese than Leo to me, and I would love to see if the actual kind of Leo accessories work on it, because it does have the same backpack. If I ever find them down in the catacombs at some point, they're from a long time ago, so not so well sorted, I will try them out. But as for now, let's check what this thing is like, starting with the aesthetics. So now jumping on into the aesthetics, and there we go, there is the high grade Leo ore finished out of box with absolutely nothing extra done whatsoever. Now I will admit I do see a couple of aspects on this that could do with a bit of a pan lining, especially on the thighs there where you can't really see that detail. But will I, won't I, will I? Sure, why not? I'll give it the quick go. So yeah, pretty much the fastest, quickest way to get your panel lines done if you just want to do a little bit of a kind of top up to make sure you can see all the lines is the felt tip style Gundam marker. Super simple. I used gray. You just draw it into the lines just like so, and then you can just use your finger to wipe away the excess. If you want the lines to be a little more crisp, use something like a pencil eraser and it'll make sure they're nice and crisp afterwards. It's so simple, easy to do. It takes minutes, seconds even, depending on how many panel lines are on a kit. This one doesn't have a whole lot, so it's a quick one to do. It doesn't really, well, make a huge difference, but it does mean that you can actually see some of the details, like the ones there in the upper legs. But anyway, when it does come to the aesthetics on the high-grade Leo ore, this is, well, a ridiculously unique remix of the original Leo design. A lot of the aspects of the actual Leo are here, but they've been switched around a little bit to give it a bit more of a feminine look. This might actually lead you to think that this is a mecha that does have a female pilot, but it is not. This is actually piloted by a bit of a discount miliardo peacecraft known as Kratz. When it does come to the overall design, there is a lot of Leo aspects still intact here, just kind of mixed up a little bit. The torso has the clavicle circular aspects in the general shape, but it has been split in two. It still has the bar section as well, but there is a pink sticker included for that. Around back, we do have a pair of little wings, which are somewhat similar to the bigger wings you would see on the tall geese. These are nice, they can move around a little bit, and we do have that hair section as well, which gives it a bit of a Nobel Gundam feel. If you lift that up there, underneath we do have the standard Leo attachment point. There is actually, if you whip that off, a 3mm hole in it, so it should be compatible with the Leo accessories that are out there. So if you just remove those wings and the hair, and by the way, this part is just on a pivot, so you could probably take it off at that point, you could use those backpacks. The shoulders have been changed quite a bit inside of this kit. They're big and gold. Again, I would recommend maybe painting the gold because injection gold can look a little bit foldy and not so premium. Here it's not too bad. And even though visually these shoulders have changed quite a bit from the standard Leo, the ball section is still inside of those. And speaking of the standard Leo, there are parts left over on the runners. So even though those shoulders are those kind of balls, they're not actually the Leo's balls. The Leo's balls, they're right here. Also, a lot of Leo armor is in here too, in that kind of light greenish blue, including the shoulder shield, but sadly there is no other parts for using with that. But if you do want some extra parts for customs, there are a couple of bits in here, including the leg aspects. And as for the actual accuracy of the suit itself, there it is side by side with the actual line art, and as you can see, for the most part it is quite similar. Now the color could be a little bit off, it's kind of hard to tell whether what we do see in the art is meant to be as green as it is compared to the kit, which is a little bit bluer, but that is down to your own personal opinion. Overall though, color accuracy wise and lore accuracy wise, it does look pretty damn good. However, I will mention there are quite a few stickers. During the build we did see that we needed one right here for inside the eye, inside the head. Those two eye section ones right there are on the eyes we're seeing right there. Again, we saw that in the build. These two side ones right here on the side of the head, and this is the pink on that bar in the chest right there. As for those super large, ridiculous ones, I didn't use those, but they're actually for color correcting this whole elbow section right here. That would definitely take a whole lot of bending around surfaces and whatnot. If you're good with stickers, you might pull it off, but that is definitely a little bit of a letdown. Overall though, it is very hard to deny that this is a ridiculously unique looking mobile suit, especially when it comes to a take on an iconic Gundam WIng grunt, the Leo. There's a lot of nice design elements going on in it, the color is unique, and overall there isn't that many feminine shaped mobile suits out there. There's this, the Nobel Gundam, Engage Zero, and Miss Sazabi. That's about all I can really kind of think of off the top of my head. So it is a unique design. So now jumping into the size comparison, and there it is side by side with two versions of the Oryx 78-2. That's the high grade Revive on the left, real grade 2.0 on the right, and when it comes to the Leo ore, it is about average head height for a mobile suit. As for a few more high grade size comparisons, now we've got the high grade Ariel, the high grade G Self, high grade Exia, high grade Barbatos, high grade Gundam EX, and the high grade Zagok Seed Freedom version. So now jumping into the accessories, and inside the box with the Leo ore, there's not really a whole ton of stuff. First off, we've got the lance, an included hand for holding onto it, as well as a beam effect. When it comes to alternate hands, we do have a widespread left hand, which is always a super nice addition. So straight away, I'm going to get this up on a stand. There is the attachment point right there. So it is in the rear skirting. The stand I'm going to use is the stand I usually use in reviews. That is Good Smile Company's Simple Stand. Just pops in like so and does exactly what you need it to do. As for these standard hands we have in here, these are your usual kind of holding hands. Great on the back as well as the front. Swapping them out for the alternate ones is just a case of popping it like that and attaching the alternate ones in just like so. So this is the only alternate left hand we have in here, which is a nice widespread one. There's a quick look around on the other side, and I'm always super happy when we do get something like this inside of a kit, so it's a lot more expressive than your standard kind of block holding hand with the hole in it. So when it comes to the only single weapon we have in here, it is the Beam Jewel Lancer. So it's all in the one color, but it is 1, 2, 3 parts with the beam attachment point in the tip. We do have a hand for holding onto this, which is at a nice thrusting angle, nicely designed. But I will mention there is meant to be another weapon, or should I say the Leo ore does use another weapon, which is a version of the Leo's beam cannon. Now, I'm not sure if it is exactly the same beam cannon or not. I remember in Cross Rays it looked a little different, like there was a handle up top, but it is, you know, if it is the one that's in the sold separately option kit, that is available, but it would have been nice to see it inside of this box too. Anyway, back to the beam lancer. This is the beam, which is quite nice, a little bit on the vigorous side. This pops on just like so, and that is what it looks like out of box. Simple, shiny, but does what it needs to do. Getting this attached onto the Leo Aura is super simple. You just attach it into the hand if you haven't already. This is a sandwich grip, and then you just take out the hand attached, pop this in just like so. Posing this up is an absolute breeze. It's good and solid, at least so far, and that is what it looks like when it is held in the hand. Now that is it for the accessories. Again, it would have been nice to see the beam cannon included as well, just for the sake of completion, but this is still a very nice looking weapon. So finally now moving on to the articulation. So far this is rock solid, which is always good to know. I do know some of the Leos could get a little bit loose over time, so it's hard to tell if that will be the case or not. But anyway, first off, usual pose. So getting this into the usual pose, and immediately this hits a whole lot of issues. Immediately a lot of parts are just blocked from each other, and it means that the full articulation and range of motions at some aspects can't be used. I've got this at the foot up towards the front, the hips as well. The hair does get slightly in the way a little bit, so overall the design doesn't really take a lot of these factors into consideration, so they end up clashing together and limiting it more than it would be if everything was allowed to move as it can. This right here is what we get in the end, so it's not too bad overall. It's quite dynamic and whatnot. What kind of has limited it the most is this can't move up anymore towards the front, and this little bit of a kind of hip extension here does just block against this skirting. So there is those minor aspects, but overall, definitely not too bad. For example, like the knee can bend a lot more than this is allowing it to. Flat on the ground. Moving into the full articulation, the head has some very nice side to side as long as you've got the hair up at the back so it doesn't clash with the armor. We do have a little bit of up and down as well, front and back. Around back you can raise the hair up and down out of the way, which is very nice and expressive. And speaking of which, on the back thruster sections, these move around quite a bit for ball joints. They can roll around, they can move up and down, and they can move out to the sides quite a bit due to a nice cutout groove. The ab crunch on here isn't as good as you could hope it to be. It is just a bunch of ball joints that don't give you an incredible amount of movement. There is some movement here, but not a lot. We do have full rotation all the way around here as well. Moving down to the waist unit, and this is very impressive. We have a dropping mechanism inside the hips, which is simple but very effective. This helps with the kicks, so we do get full kicks all the way out to the front, yet they are blocked somewhat to the back by the rigid, non-moving butt flap. Speaking of parts that kind of get in the way, we don't have the full splits here, as the side skirting armors that are mounted on the sides of the legs do clash with the hip armor. We have a little bit of rotation at the upper hip as well. The knee bend is not incredible, but not bad. It does pretty much what you'd want a knee to do, and the ankles down here are incredibly limited. Not much when it comes to the forward and back side to side. It's just, well, pretty paralyzed inside of this armor. Overall, quite good. Once again, there is that full test pose out of it. Not the worst by any margin, but not the best either. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and this is an absolutely incredibly unique kit, and it's its novelty that really makes it ridiculously awesome. However, it does lack pretty much across the board in every different aspect, which does make it a silver tier, or should I say an X-silver tier kit. Aesthetically, it is very unique, it is very nice, but does have a few down points on top of the fact that it does look incredibly cool. The down points would include the fact that there is a lot of stickers involved in the build, which you will have to paint or use the stickers. The gold could look a little bit better, but that is usually the case for gold. But overall, the novelty does win over because this is such a unique take on a wingsuit and a unique take on a Leo. When it comes to what is included inside the box of this kit, we are lacking a weapon which it does use, which is the beam cannon. However, what we do get is nice, but a little bit on the sparse side. It's nice to have an included alternate left widespread hand, and the beam lance is definitely nice. A little bit simple, but it does look cool when in poses. Finally then, when it does come to the articulation on this, it is pretty much bog standard. You'll get all the standard poses you do want out of it, some very nice poses as well, but it is blocked in a lot of different places. The waist could be a little bit better, the neck is a little bit blocked, the ankles and the hips are incredibly blocked, but even though there is a lot of limitations to its overall posability, you will eke out some nice poses out of it. However, fairly standard. At the end of the day, when it comes to the Leo Ore, it is its novelty that makes it so unique. It's a feminine take on a mobile suit, which is not something we usually see all that often. It is a novelty within the world of gunpla, definitely, and a ridiculously cool take on a classic being the Leo. If you are a fan of Gundam WIng, or you just love G-Unit, or you like suits with this kind of flair, this is a definite must-buy, even though it does have a couple of shortcomings. None of them are deal breakers, so if you're thinking about getting it, I would say totally do it. However, if you are just a little bit curious, there are better kits out there, but it is always up to yourself. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews. If you want one of your own, I got mine through Buy. You can get one there too, link in the description. And as always, I'll see you next time. As always, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking every single one of you guys for watching, and special thanks to those who support me on both the channel memberships as well as on Patreon, including Simon, Scotty Thomas, Abraxas, RG59061, Joe, Vanfon, and Caleb Engelhardt.